All right, so today I'm going to be going over how to install and use Open Broadcaster software. It's a free software you can use for your screen recordings or for live streaming or both at the same time if you wanted to. You can also use it as a webcam. So if you would prefer your Google Meet to look uh, something more like this, that is 100% okay. So with this, and I'm going to come in here. I have to go and show you the web page. So we've got obsproject.com, works on Mac, Windows, and Linux, as you can see here. It is totally free, and it's pretty much really, what most people use who are doing streaming. They use this, or they use as an alternative, which works just as well. They use Streamlabs, uh, which is very much like a clone of OBS, but it's got a lot more integration for people who are actually streaming. So this is my preferred software, and it is what I would recommend to you guys over something like Screencastify because you have a lot more control. Okay, so that being said, I'm actually recording this with another one that doesn't have my camera up. Like, that's why, if I minimize stuff, you're only seeing the display catcher, which will be something I will show you to do. It'll be one of the first things. But first, we have to start by building a scene. So you got all these different scenes here that I can go through. I've got all these different ones depending on what I want to do. As you can see me going through, you can build it. But this is like kind of like the default one I'm going to set you guys up with to do something like this, and then you could do whatever you wanted in that respect. So um, let's just go through a couple things first, just to get you set up. Some things I always do in settings just to look for settings. I want to know where I'm outputting. So like right now I'm recording, and I know I am recording to videos. And in my videos, I'm recording as a flash. The reason I do this is because if I hit start recording here and it's a flash video, I could actually hit pause. So if you don't have video editing software and you want to take a break or whatever, you can pause your recording and then you can just pick up. So that's why, but if you have video editing software, an MP4 or whatever would be fine. And I have a folder specified here for it. I can't actually edit that right now because I am recording, but I would highly recommend you guys do that. Video output, I'm doing it in 1080p, 16:9 ratio because that's what YouTube is. You can change some of this stuff, and I'm doing 30 frames a second, smaller files. You could increase it. There's all sorts of hotkeys you can put in here. I don't use any, but if you wanted to, you could do that as well, and you can do them based on each of your scenes. You can have different hotkeys for your scenes. It's like I could switch between scenes with hotkeys if I wanted, and I could add all that information in here. So this is some of the general stuff. I'll go over streaming toward the end, and then we don't have to worry about this or this outside of maybe setting up what you want your audio mic to be. I'm not using my webcam, I'm using my headphone jack because you're less likely to hear external noises from it than my webcam. So that's just a couple things, but let's build a scene. So when you install OBS and it opens up, it's got nothing going on. So the first thing you got to do is do a scene. So this is, I'm going to call this test scene, and that'll be it. So it's a test. And notice, like even when I'm recording, when I click between the scenes, it let me do different things. So like I could have scenes in here doing all different things depending on what I want to teach or what lesson I want to do. I could have it set up differently for each class, for everything, and I can actually switch between them. Like I could have one here that says intermission and or be back in 5 minutes, or stream will start soon. And then as soon as, and you throw that up like maybe between periods, if you're just streaming your whole day, and you go for a break, be back soon, class starts, have your schedule, whatever. You could have one, just a text page, you're done. And then when you're ready, you get going. So first we're going to do some things. Now, notice this is kind of like my template here. I've got all sorts of things going. So I got like a background image, I got my display capture, I've got my video capture, I've got my overlay, and then I got my text boxes. So if I create that in the same order, I'm going to go in. So in looking for this image, I saved it in my videos, in my OBS video, and I'll use a different image for the background. We'll see how this comes out, and I'll just stretch it out. I got a nice starlit sky, and that's just my overall background that I've got in here. So this could be any image. I'm just using the background. You don't have to do this at all. I'm just showing you what I did to create kind of a layout, and I used like a chalkboard background here. I'm mixing it up a little. Next, and the most important thing, and the thing I use the most, is I use display capture. Now I am in the very fortunate position where I just use my two monitors, so I do have two monitors to pick from. Right now I am picking the main one. The reason it is just showing the same thing over and over again is because it's taking a picture of this screen. Like if I was to move this recording off into another screen, you would see what is on that screen, but I'm bringing it back. Okay, and I don't want this to be my whole screen. You might, that depends on how you want to set your thing up. But honestly, when I do this most of the time, I just make this take up the whole image. I don't do a background, I don't do anything fancy. This takes up everything. And that's what I do most of the time. But if you wanted to do something a little fancier, that's what I'm walking you through here and now. So the next thing I do after the display capture, I add my video capture. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go to a video capture device. So if you want to put yourself in there, that is totally okay. That's up to you too. I'm going to add an existing. I think it's this one. So I do not want myself to be giant. So I am going to shrink it. To do this, if you hold down the Alt key, I don't know what that would be on a Mac. Probably one of those crazy Apple keys. But I am just going to alter this so it is getting just me in here. That's all I want. And now I can drop myself wherever. Corner I can make myself use. That's a lot of ugly. So I'm going to put that back down. And just do it. Now I have a green screen up, and my green screen is handy if you want to do it where you only want me, you don't want a background. One thing people might do is they might actually make an overlay, like a box around you, that you can put yourself in, and it frames it up nice. That's not something I'm really into, but like you could, for example, like I made a scene over here where I just have a border around a webcam, and that's all it is. That's all that's in the scene. I could actually come over here if I wanted, instead of having it like this and do the green screen, I could actually come in here and add this scene like so. And that would be it, and I could then drag the box and everything. You can also do things called like grouping if you wanted. That's kind of whatever. I like the scenes. I think it's easy to control the scene. So if you wanted to do your webcam like this and do a box around it because you don't have a green screen, that's a-okay. You can do that. Just shrinking it up. And then I could drag this wherever I needed it. And remember, to shrink up a scene, you hold Alt. Otherwise, you just drag and move. So you could have a scene like this where you're bordered and it's nice. And I really did not spend any time working on that. Or you could have yourself the way I prefer to, which is I use the green screen and I bring myself in here and I hold Alt to change up my frame size like so. So it's just the green screen because mine's not huge. And then I would right click and go to filter, and I would add a chroma key, which is right here, and turn it on. And you can adjust as needed with the chroma key, and it shows you like the whole scene, and it shows you what it's cutting out. And I can see right down here that my lighting is good enough that we're getting a decent job. And like 90% of the time, this is all I do. I have my display capture, and if we're doing this, I'm going to just move this for a second. The next thing I did was I created an overlay, and I didn't spend a tremendous amount of time on this. There we go. So I made an overlay. I made this in, what did I make this in? I made it in Photoshop. I did not spend any real significant amount of time on this. And just here's my overlay. As you can see, it's going back into infinity, and this is only because I'm building it for you, and I know this is extraordinarily annoying when it does this, but it's the only way I can show you how to do it. So I'm actually going to shrink the video capture in a second, or make it just kind of go invisible, the display capture I should say, after I resize it. So I'm going to resize my display capture to kind of be where I want. Now this is where, like, if you do a border and you want to get this set up to exactly what you want, that's up to you how you want to do that. And this would mean maybe I want my webcam to be a little smaller, go over here, and kind of float around. So like this might be what I want. And I have my display capture, and I've got my camera there, and maybe that's fine for me. Maybe I want to stretch this just a little bit more. Not quite down to the border, you know, whatever you want to do is really fine. Maybe I want this a little smaller. Maybe I want this centered, and I'm going to have things going on over here, maybe like the periods of the day when I'm teaching, so you can drop in, whatever. And then the last things I did, I believe, is I added text. And I'll show you 2 ways to add text. So yeah, let's add text. I'm making a layer for text. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select a text color. You should do the text color first, because if you go in later and you do a text color, it can get all wonky on you, and you have to redo stuff. All right, that looks like a gold. I'm going to copy this so I can replicate it. So I copied that so I can replicate it because that's the color. And then I'm going to select a font. The type of font is not important, but I am a serif kind of guy, so I'm going to grab some Times New Roman. And I think 72 is a good size font for this when I tested it out. And maybe this is like reminders, and then add some reminders like of classes October 5th dash test on October. This could be whatever, and you can change it whenever you want. 15th dash etc. So this could be like your whole reminder tab. I'm going to drag that in. I've got a spot for it right here. And then what I'm going to do to that, I'm going to go into filters, and I'm going to add a scroll. And you just call it scroll, whatever. It's going to be a horizontal scroll. Like that. Obviously, you could figure out what vertical scroll would do. Like if I turned it to a vertical scroll, that maybe if you had something over here on the columns and you wanted to go, and like a vertical scroll would be, you know, like that. That is not what I want though. I want a horizontal scroll. You set a speed that looks good to you. And you know, we got our little preview over here, so whatever speed looks good to you. Whatever direction you want. I like this direction. That speed looks okay. And like I don't want mine going across the whole way here, so I can limit the width. Get the size I want, and I can limit the width, let's say 500. For me, 500 looks good. Maybe 550. And that's kind of right on the edge of my thing. And that'll just continue going on loop. And then I could do another text over here, which I will do. All right, so this is my second text. I'm going to go back to Times New Roman because, like I said, I'm in a serif kind of mood. I'm going to try to do about the same size. And, I'm just going to put the name down. Now, here's why I said you have to know your color ahead of time and you should do your color first, which I didn't listen to myself because when I close that out here, you see it ruins everything. Everything is ruined now. Because when you change the text color, it like resets everything, which is all sorts of annoying. And I warned myself earlier in this video, but it'll be okay. I mean, I've seen people, do something like this and it leads to all sorts of things, drinking drugs, but I think I'll make it through. Hopefully you won't have the same issues. So there we go. Drag that down there. Try to get kind of a center thing on. Use that to line it up. And there we go. And I believe this is about what we had over here. Different background, slightly different layout and spacing. But I think this is more than adequate in terms of what you can do and what you want to do. This is a basic setup, and you can do it like with these tools. You can kind of get creative and do what you want. Like you can add images all over the place. You could have a nice image of like a whiteboard here or something that you could have text scrolling or a schedule. You can always make yourself bigger or smaller. You don't have to have yourself in there at all. You can shut anything off at any time. And you have multiple scenes you can switch through because maybe I want to be on this screen for one class and I have different messages going. If I have to change my message like my work due, I can click on it. Maybe I'm changing the test from my reminders to Wednesday. So we've got all this going on, and that's a lot. And there's lots of other things you can do. If you're lazy or you want to pay for it, you can go get some really sweet looking overlays that are interactive, and if you're live streaming, would even like pop up and tell you when people subscribe to you, and that's great. But I don't have time or money for that, so I won't be doing that. Something like this, you can just download a board or wherever, or make it yourself. So we're through this. Once you get here, all you have to do is hit start recording and it will start recording you. And everything you say and do, there'll be a little pause icon when it's recording you, and it will be wonderful, I promise. So that's that. So what other things can we do that are beneficial for this software? Well, the first thing we can do is, and now you've lost the picture of me, but I think you'll live. One of the cool things you can do is there is an extension called OBS Virtual Cam that I like to use. And if you go down here and you download the source code or go to download and download it and install it, which I've done already, and if you agree, I'm sure you'll read all of that, and install and register 4 virtual cameras or install plugin and register only 1. You go through and you install it. It's great when you install it, and what happens is in OBS, now that we've got our stuff set up under tools, you can go to Virtual Cam and you can set it up to auto start what it's called. You can buffer frames, and what that does is if we go into a Google Meet, so if I go into a Google Meet right here, I can use my cam from OBS as my screen as long as OBS is running, which is extremely nice in my opinion. I would rather run my Google Meets like this with my display up all the time instead of some of the time, and I don't ever have to do screen share or anything. and it's set up the way I want instead of just sharing my monitor. And another benefit from it is when I share my monitor, I can also have my Google Meet on the other page all set up ready to go too, and I can change what I'm doing on my shared monitor. So the only thing I ever do here to make this happen is you go to videos and then you just go look for the camera. Like, I could be on the regular camera, which may not work. It's not going to work because it's being used in OBS, or I can just use it as OBS camera, which is the one it's outputting to. And I always put my send resolution to 720p. I wish I could go up higher, but I can't. And then if I was to join this meeting, there it is, my desktop. And I don't really see a point of hitting present now. So you could do this. It also lets you, even if you're just using OBS, not to record, but just to have your picture bigger for when you're talking to them on a green screen, this would be one way to do that. And as I said, I would never use Google Meet to do my recorded meetings or anything. I would always use OBS for that. So that's one trick you can do. Get out of here. Another thing you can do is stream. Some of you might want to stream your stuff. So how do you do that? How do you make OBS stream for you? So first thing, you got to go to a YouTube or Twitch or whatever you're using, and like in YouTube, you'd go to YouTube Studio, and you would go over here to create, and you would go live. And mine's already set up. But what you would have to do is there is a stream code in here that you have. So you would unblur it, which I'm not going to give it to you, and it will only be up for like 10 seconds or whatever, and you copy that, and then you would go back to OBS, and you would go into here, and you go to settings, and you would go to stream, and then you would put in your stream code, and you'd say YouTube or Twitch or whatever you happen to be using for your streaming, and you would click OK, and then you could hit start streaming and start recording at the same time, and you could stream and record. So like if I go right now and I hit start streaming, we will see if this kicks in because I've already set it up. So I hit it on my monitor that I'm going, and it says I have an excellent connection. It says I'm live, and there we go. It shows me moving around the screen. It's got a delay on it. It always does. At least with YouTube, there's a delay. And then you're like, well, how do I find this? So to find it, I would go to YouTube, like to post it to my students. And I'd go to Mr. Braun, ACSD. And this one is live now. This can be confusing. This one is live now. And here we go. So I am live. I'm going here. It's going to be now delayed, and you're getting like redundant sound. So I'm going to get out of here. But that is how that works, and then I can end the stream. End stream. And the nice thing is, after you end the stream, you could always go and you could edit it in Studio. And that's another nice benefit of using OBS. Even if you're not recording in OBS, even if you wanted to record in YouTube, YouTube has a video editor on it. So like what? This video is ACSD, and I am however long, and I am going to hit pause, stop, and I'm going to hit trim. I can say split here, and let's say I wanted to take out this much. I could say split there, and then I could take this chunk out and this chunk out. Or anywhere you put a split, I make another split. Like let's say I want to take the whole end out, I put a split in here. And now if I hit preview, go to streaming, hit play. This. So I hit play. It should jump right over YouTube. like to post
all
it to
of
my
this.
live streaming right now,
And it does. And then
you could hit. This is actually
save as
old
new
one I was on.
and copy
Not the one
Mr.
I'm on
Braun
right
live
now.
stream, and you could be like lesson 4.
So that is not my stream. Apologies. So you would go
Save
to
as
YouTube
new.
and go to Mr. Braun ACSD,
And that's it. And so now I can go
this
to my
one is live now.
channel's videos, and it is processing, and that can take a while. But when it's processed, you'd have your video in there, which people could watch when it gets done processing. I never do that, and I don't live stream. What I typically do is I go and edit in a video editor.